The most powerful force on earth is a human soul on fire. You have a deep ache in your soul for something more, to come alive, to let your passion pour from you like an endless well. When your passion comes alive, the magnificence buried deep inside of you is unleashed. Gifts and talents you never realized surface as your life unfolds like poetry. You can do hard things. I can show you how. This is Thrive Yoga Fit Transformational Coaching, where I teach you how to heal yourself from the inside out. Hello, welcome back to Thrive Yoga Fit Transformational Coaching. This is Erin, and today I have a special guest. His name is Cuhat. Hi, Cuhat.
Hello, good morning.
What's up? So he has been following my podcast for like 2 years, a little bit over 2 years.
Yeah, I think close to 3.
Closer to 3. Ah, yes. And it's really special because he has been writing to me for a long time. And, he wrote to me, and then I had like some, life happenings. And so I was like reading his letters, and I just, my mother passed away and a bunch of other things happened in my life. And he always just kind of like reached out to me, and he would share about his life and his path. And I was just always so grateful to receive his letters. And he gave me such beautiful artwork, which I have at least 3 pieces hanging around my house and in the studio. So the multi-talented Cuhat, thank you so much for being here this morning.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm actually really honored. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's really cool for me. So maybe a lot of people don't realize that, like, my perspective is like I sit in front of a microphone or sometimes a camera, and like I'm looking at a reflection of myself a lot of times, and I'm just like, is anybody listening? Like, and then so when I get letters like yours, I'm always like just so humbled and blown away, because part of my podcast, maybe this is why people like it, is it's like intermingled with my humanness, just like me sort of like fumbling around and maybe feeling anxious, and then having like just spurts of channeled information and just trying to help people and sharing what has helped me. So then when I get to like meet someone virtually and in person soon, hopefully, it's just like, I don't know, kind of like mind blowing for me. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting is as a disclosure too, I was a state prisoner in Arizona for 7 out of 8 years, and and I was having a hard time. And what's cool about your platform is, I mean, you're reaching all over the world. I think you're ranked 26 in the spiritual platform right now for podcasts, which is absolutely amazing. And given that, you respond to people. When I wrote you a letter, I was asking for help, and I was asking you for guidance and whatnot. And I mean, you responded back, and that's fantastic.
So your situation was pretty unique, and you started. You got certified in teaching meditation while you were still in prison.
Well, it wasn't so much of a certification. It was kind of, I had to build myself up through the administration. And, and I had to fill out a class curriculum and kind of explain the ideas behind what I wanted to do and to introduce to the population there. So what I had done was I kind of sold it as a platform of kind of behavioral self-awareness, and it was a lot of your design that helped me create that. And another thing too is for years, being locked up like that, I developed crippling social anxiety really bad. And it was designing that class and putting myself out there in such a way that, I was standing there in a room full of 30 monsters, teaching them how to meditate and to control their mind and their thoughts. And we discussed difficult things, and the administration loved it, and they gave me that platform, and it sold. People loved it. I got a lot of friends down there in DOC right now. And they're listening to this right now. I got Ryan Carr, Adam McCormick, Chris Sixer, just to name a couple. And I really want to express that, through these practices, through mindfulness, concentration, and just being positive in general, you can really change your life. The environment doesn't have anything to do with the quality that we can pull from things. And, I was sitting in there in a cell for years, listening to your podcast, just dreaming about essentially this moment, and potentially, I'd love to meet you and go out to your retreats and get some training. And I mean, it's going to happen. It's law of attraction. You stay focused and do good shit with your mind and your work, and things happen,
I love that. What's very satisfying for me is when people have discovered my work and they're either already on the path, or maybe it prompts them to be on the path, and they take, the lessons, which, some are of my creation. Other times I share things that I've learned from other teachers, and they take it and they apply it in their life. Like, that is the best fucking thing, is when I see my students do it, I see listeners do it, I see friends do it, and we just sort of like echo chamber off of each other in this sort of spiritual handpan. And we just we raise the vibration with each other. And, it's a sacred space, whether it be in person or afar, where we can be vulnerable and we can be imperfect and we can admit to our humanness and and still find little pockets to grow. Like, you working through social anxiety like that, I have worked with and coached people who couldn't leave their house. And it's hard, to take the steps to not just, okay, I'm going to go outside, but to present in front of people. So you've got the guts. So I wanted to share with everyone, just because I think it's a kind of neat story as far as how you came across my podcast, because I think it's just super serendipitous and just a cool story.
No, absolutely. Yeah, it worked out really well. So 8 years ago, for starts, I was locked in a cell, and and it's everything that everyone would think it was. It was in the hole. I was in there for disciplinary. And the entire Tao Te Ching was written all over the cell walls, and I didn't know what it was, but I started reading these things, and and I just started getting this little energy burst inside my chest that built up, and nowadays through these current practices of yoga and Kriya, I understand what it was at this point. It was the Atman Purusha, the heart chakra was opening up, and Christians call it the Holy Ghost, and from that moment on, I've been a Taoist. I wrote all those aphorisms down on a sheet of paper, and I carried them with me, and then I was able to look it up, find out what it was, and I was like, wow, I guess I'm a Taoist. So I started practicing Taoism, and then years later, during my little interval of release, I got in trouble again, and so I went down into a county jail in northern Arizona, and it was the same destitute. I had a good discipline about myself, but I didn't really have a practice, a day-to-day practice. I meditated and whatnot, but so I didn't have access to anything. They didn't have any books. They didn't have nothing on Buddhism, Taoism, anything. And I asked them, do you guys have any kind of spiritual literature that I can read at all? And they said, well, we got a Book of Mormon. That wasn't going to do it for me, So we were given these little tablets, real controlled internet and whatnot, and there was podcasts on there. And I put in yoga, and Thrive popped up, so I started listening to Thrive. And your guided meditations is what really got me. And just the authenticity that you express, you're just such a real person on these podcasts. And you talk about real life, day-to-day situations, how to handle just all kinds of, anxieties and traumas and stuff like that. And I really gravitated towards it. It was helping me. It was helping me inside that cell. I was, at this point, I was locked in that cell for 2 years. And so, I mean, I looked you up on the internet. I had my dad look you up and found out you're in Florida, got your address, and wrote you a letter asking for help. You know, I did the full disclosure. Hey, this is where I'm at. This is what's going on. I need your help. If you can send me literature, that'd be awesome. Then you started responding back to me on the podcast. Just let me know that you're getting my letters and that you're going to get back to me. And, you know, it fucking made me cry, man. You know, someone heard me. And then you started working with me, you know, and kind of the rest is history. There's a lot of details, but yeah, I mean, you're that one light, you know, and at this point you're one of the best friends that I've ever met, you know, just because of your practice and your dedication to helping people. It's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, but now the story continues and here you are. So update everybody on where you're at right now, what moves you're making, and maybe how your spiritual practices have evolved.
For sure. Absolutely. So with my newfound interest, once I had started communicating with Erin, I came across Kriya, and it's kind of pranayama, energy meditations, and real focus of the chakras and breathing and stuff like that. And, you know, with that, I was kind of able to work through my anxieties and develop the platform for the mind and meditation course that I had opened down there in Cibola unit and Yuma. And made the decision that this is the kind of work that I want to do. I was reaching a lot of guys in there and you know, and you could just tell. You can tell when people get it. You can tell when there's a sincere transformation within people. And just to see that I was the catalyst of that really started changing my life. Yeah. So my meditations at that point started focusing on what I could do, what I could pull in from the universe to make me available, given the platform that I have as an ex-con and ex-drug addict, ex-alcoholic, and teach people these things that have really helped me and changed my life. So within those meditations, I put all the energy out there, and it comes back to me that there's a place here in Arizona, in Phoenix, that's called New Freedom. And what New Freedom is it's an old 4-star hotel that you know, people of the same kinds of backgrounds, people that have had problems in their life, you know, drug addiction, just gangster thug shit or whatever, they've changed their life. They got this hotel, put it together, they call it New Freedom, GCHH. And what their outreach does is they pull in people that society considers to be erroneous or nefarious, and it gives them a leg up. They teach a bunch of trades here, you know, to get people a leg up on building some kind of career. They got trade electives, electric, culinary, painting, welding. I took a tile class with my buddy Speedy, and I got certified, you know, and it only took a month. And it's all hands-on. There's they run classes up to 15 hours a day.
Wow.
You know, and it's a Jedi training facility for sure. You know, it's a 90-day program. Yeah, it's awesome though. You know, these guys are saving people's lives. And, you know, just like I stand for Thrive, I'm a thriver. You know, I've never been out to Florida, Bradenton, and been able to take your classes, but, you know, I got your back, you know, and it's just like New Freedom. I got these guys back too. And these guys are helping me to design the things that I want. I'm currently taking RSS training or peer support, and I get my certification next weekend, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
And yeah, absolutely. So, and you know, that's going to be, you know, a certificate that I can kind of push around in the holistic community with doing some counseling and some stuff that I'm really good at, you know, and these guys are making that possible. There's a yoga teacher that comes up here once, sometimes twice a week. her name's Ashley Nicole. She's fantastic. She has a yoga studio here in Phoenix called Yogi Central, and she plays a big part in what I'm doing as well. She's got me all linked into the yoga community here, and she's going to be around for the rest of my life, and I love it.
Wow, so that's excellent.
Yeah.
So you're there for about, how long is it now, like 30 more days?
I think I have about 40 or 45 more days, so I'm about halfway done right now.
That's awesome. So your big vision as far as helping people, you think you're going to incorporate, do you think yoga, asana, like teacher trainings, like what are you looking forward to as far as like future trainings and I guess pulling everything together, like stitching it together? So just for example, like my students, like for example, they'll go through a teacher training or like a coach training, something like that. And we always try to find their niche. As far as like, I was just with my student Kat this morning, and she wants to put together like a somatic approach to coaching, which I taught her like body rolling. She's taking an extended course with the Yamana body rolling. And so she's going to help people to process trauma by like coaching them while they're like rolling on a ball and like feeling and like reconnecting to their body. She's like, there's nothing like it. And I'm like, I got tingles when she said it. I was like so excited for her. So I'm not sure what stage you're at, but like I'm so looking forward to you sort of like birthing that into the world. So I guess
yeah, as far as the specifics, I don't know. This tree is still growing. We don't know what it's going to look like 5 years from now, 10 years from now. But like I had mentioned before, I definitely want to go out to your retreats, kind of learn more about what you do to help people, because I do want to incorporate whatever you can teach me into what I can do with others. My main goal is, kind of like what New Freedom is doing here. I want to reach out to people that are being kicked down for their history and try to help them come back up, and express the ability for us to change, and it's through these practices. If we can make these practices available, I think I can heal a lot more people, and I can reach guys that, certified counselors can't, just because of my history. I got my head tattooed. I'm punk rock, and
there's a student that's waiting to hear you in the way that you're going to say it with your voice. Like you definitely have students waiting for you to step up in that way. And it's like, that and you're collecting it. So it's like, I definitely believe that for you.
Definitely. Absolutely. And so what's been working so far is I do good with motivation. I speak well, which is really odd because I'm coming out of a social anxiety situation, And,
isn't it funny how the universe hides gifts in there, and then it's like, okay, well, you have this here, but you're going to have to work through this top layer of shit and then you can have it.
No, for sure. That's the magic of the whole situation, is that, our problems are what make us so strong though. It's the difficulties that make us find our magic, that make us find our strength. And the things that frighten us and the things that are difficult, those are the things that we're going to be good at once we conquer those fears and attributes about ourselves and what we do. So, I'm in a great position to reach back into this dark hole and pull people out with me. So, if it's through speaking, teaching yoga, meditation, I've got a little bit of history of martial arts, and I find a lot of spiritual practice in that as well. I'd love to use everything. So we'll see what it looks like here in a couple of years. I'm interested to find out as well.
Yeah, I think it will unfold like the 8-petal path, as you would say.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I bet the people that are listening, they're kind of like hearing and they're inspired. What was the most difficult thing, or if you have like a top 3 or maybe just one thing pops out, that you had to find a way to work through? Like, maybe mental, emotional, or some belief system, or maybe situation that you could share, and I guess how you work through it.
I have to say honestly that I had a big problem with my belief system. When I was growing up, I had kind of a tough situation in my house where me and my stepmother didn't get along, and she kind of talked down on me quite a bit, so as I grew up, through high school and whatnot, I had a lot of doubt in myself, and then, that transforms into a problem when you're an adult. So, when I started going to prison and getting in trouble and stuff like that, I just, it didn't help. I really looked at myself as really an underdog. I didn't think that I was capable of just obtaining a lot of stuff that normal people have, being able to hold myself, is an admirable piece in a conversation or anything like that. So, I want to say my biggest thing was just getting over myself and my own thoughts, and I really, really encourage people to learn how to meditate and to give yoga a shot. Absolutely. Because the energy and breath work that is within these practices, it's real stuff. It's transformed my life,
So what, is there a particular pranayama that you favor? Like, for example, I really love, the Sudarshan Kriya. It's also known as the Soham breath. Like, that's a favorite of mine. I actually really like, Nadi Shodhana, which is alternate nostril breathing, which I didn't like for a while. It gave me anxiety because I felt like I couldn't breathe out of my nose. And I don't know if like my diet changed or whatever, but I can like breathe again. So now I actually really like it because it's very soothing and helps anxiety. Is there a particular breath that has helped you that you would recommend for people?
Yeah, definitely. If people can learn the bandhas, Maha Bandha has been a big transformational tool for me. Nadi Shodhana is something that I use with the bandhas, and also, and we were talking about this previously. One thing that I've really gotten into is the Wim Hof method, and what that is you bring rapid breath for 30 to 40 inhalations, exhalations. And then you exhale at the very end and you hold your breath. And then when you come to a point where you need to take a breath, take a deep breath in and up, and then you hold it for about 15 seconds. You do 3 rounds of these, and then you go into whatever kind of meditative practice that you prefer, and mine being the Maha Bandha. So, I mix a lot of these techniques. And that's what works for me, and I love it.
So you play. I like that. So you play and you kind of mix up different techniques. That's what I do. It's like you go by feeling and maybe what you're inspired by. And for those who are listening that are like, what's Maha Bandha? It's like a combination of Mula Bandha, Uddiyana Bandha, Jalahara Bandha. It's the lifting of the pelvic floor, engaging of Uddiyana Bandha, the solar plexus lift, I guess you would say, or the flying lock. And then the throat lock. And what this does is it creates an irrigation system of energy that you're kind of moving up and down your spine. So if you're doing Maha Bandha and combining it with that breath work, like, damn, you're moving some energy blocks.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, collectively, it takes about 45 minutes to an hour. So, there's mornings where I don't have the time to do that, but
sure.
If nothing else, I've got to do my bandha work.
Yeah.
So that's critical.
I love it. That's awesome. So is there any advice that you would give to, you might have a couple of people that are going to listen to it that and maybe there's some people that are in a low place that are listening to this that you would want to give to them to kind of encourage them?
Definitely. We've got to believe. We've got to believe bigger and better. Our environment, and I know it's hard to believe at first, but our environment is an extension of ourselves. It's what we believe that creates the good that we experience. So, if and that's the interesting thing about this practice too, is it's for everybody. If you're Islam, if you're Christian, it doesn't matter. These practices can bring some peace of mind. And then once you get to a point to where you can relax, you got to think better thoughts. Even if you're in a dark space like I used to be, I learned, through listening to Thrive, as small as it is, it's just a little podcast, but it saved my life. And it's because of, the value that's put within it, and the message that's there within, and the energy that you put into your podcast. That's the kind of energy that we need to put into our own lives. And I really encourage people to just think better, to try. Imagine yourself, in places that you want to be in, experiencing the things that you want, and make that a daily practice, all day. Wake up, start thinking positive shit, give yourself affirmations, try a meditation, do a couple stretches, try some yoga. This is real. This is real stuff. I wouldn't be sitting here talking on this podcast if it wasn't.
Awesome. Yeah, I like what you said about combining not just, meditation creates the space to be able to do the work and create space between the thoughts, but then also the physical practice, the asana. It's there's intelligence and energy pockets that exist within the body. And so when you twist and bend and breathe and move, you unlock this energy so that your body can process it. And it's it could be stuck in there for so long. And it's people have these intrusive, repetitive thoughts that just keep cycling through, as far as change your thoughts. It is so essential. But I think a lot of people are gosh, I don't even, for example, when I talk to people about meditation, or we have the silent retreat coming up on November 6th, and, people are oh God, I couldn't even sit down for 5 minutes. I'm really?
All right.
Really? It's because, it's you understand yourself to be your thoughts, right? And it's meditation isn't stopping the thoughts, but it's changing your relationship with them, and vairagyam, remembering who you are, when you're not kind of drowning in them.
Totally.
But I really love what you said too, because it's, for me, it wasn't just, all right, I'm going to meditate 30 minutes a day and all my problems are solved and I'm better. And, it's I have to look at diet. I try to, my new thing is trying to be with the circadian rhythm of the day, and watching the sunrise, and then do asana. And it sounds laborious when you're in a spot where you maybe don't like yourself, or you're in pain, emotional or physical, or life's just overwhelming. But it's when you start to create space, and then you see, okay, where am I fucking around with my time? And where, where could I not scroll or just zone out? Can I pull my energy together and apply it in some way? And it's the more that you keep showing up, it's the more that you fall in love with the process. I was just telling you before we hit the record button that I'm kind of a nerd right now. I go to sleep, I'm in bed by 9, I'm asleep by 10, I'm wearing my blue blockers, reading my Kindle, and then I wake up at 5 and, hop in the ocean. So it's once it's you choose the spiritual life first, but then the spiritual life chooses you.
Absolutely. Yeah, I understand that too. Definitely.
It wants to keep working through you,
Yeah, it's definitely just like anything else. It's a practice for sure. And it takes some discipline to kind of change up your routines and whatnot. But these practices are something that's worth working into your life. At this point, I've been doing this stuff for a while now, and it's completely transformed everything that I do. Just my social interactions, and you've done some recordings on conscious eating and stuff like that. And I take everything that you say into heart. You're a great teacher, and these are things that are they're normal to me at first. Like you're saying, it sounds laborious, and it sounds like a lot, but if you kind of change up your routine and put in some effort to better yourself in all these different platforms, before you know it, you just start doing these things automatically, and you just start being that better life.
Yeah, it's like the conscious eating is something, I'd done it in spurts, but it's really worked into my life, and it's like uncovered a new aspect of myself, of being patient and being even more present and in the moment. And like you said earlier, that it's like where your problems and your difficulties lie, like that is your signal of like, okay, this is where you can grow. It's like when I'm doing body work workshops, like I did a low back, hips, and knees one, and people are rolling around on these like lacrosse balls, like digging into their muscles, and they're looking at me like, and I'm like, yeah. I was like, you know what, like, because you just hit gold. And it's like, if there's something in your life that causes a big emotional response, like that, you've just hit gold. It's like, okay, right. Why did that person say a thing? And all of a sudden, like, I'm sweating profusely and I'm like, shaking with anger. They just said 2 sentences. It's not the 2 sentences. It means that there is something alive inside of me that needs to be looked at.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's testing the ego, and that's huge in this work. If we can sidestep that ego, then we're really making some real changes,
Yeah. Yeah. So it's, an important thing is when these difficulties and problems and, resistance comes up to these practices is, or excuses of like, oh, I don't have the time. And, not everybody has to do like, I've set up my life, and you're setting up your life to where you can do these things, on a regular basis. Sometimes people only legitimately have like 30 to 45 minutes per day to spend on themselves. But it's right. Like, there's a yoga sutra, I'll say, Satudirga Kala Nairantarya Satkara Sevito Dridhabhumihi. It's the 1.14 yoga sutras. It's, show up with consistency, and nurture your practice, and your practice will nurture you. It's like you chose the spiritual life, and then the spiritual life chose you.
Absolutely. No, that's poetic. That's awesome. I love it.
Yeah. It's once you're on the path, and then one of the best things is you meet likened hearts, like, oh, like, we're wagging our tails like, hi, oh wow, like we can speak spiritual things to each other, and we can we become mirrors for each other. We help each other to discover blind spots. It's, and for me, I know I was just hanging out with Anik yesterday for her birthday, and my friend, Dr. Stephanie Minter. And, I was just explaining a situation I was in, and they were so compassionate, just like so sweet, and not even trying to be that way. They were just like, no, this is a situation, like, you're awesome. And it's, your spiritual community helps you and helps me to like be more compassionate towards myself, reminds you of your strength, reminds you that it's okay to be human and make mistakes, so it's, it's like the more that you're on this path, the more that things open up for you in different ways personally, but also again with your community, and then it's like a ripple effect outward, and you're affecting people. It's like your friends will start to hear about, I'm sure that you give them an earful, and like they probably making changes. So
totally.
Yeah. Awesome. So it has been really awesome to talk with you and just share your story, and share your voice and your vision. And thank you so much for being a part of my life. And I'm looking forward to meeting you in person and keeping in touch.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I appreciate you as well. I appreciate the opportunity, and keep doing what you're doing. We all love you, the whole world. So Erin Garrity is a force that should be recognized and respected. Goddammit.
Yeah, motherfucker. Thank you so much, and
for sure.
Yeah, namaste.
Thank you so much for listening. If you want to support the podcast and if it's helping you, please consider writing a review. You can go to iTunes or Google Play, go into the search bar and type in Thrive Yoga Fit Transformational Coaching, scroll down, and you can leave a review. This helps other people to find me as well as bumps us up in the search ratings. Also, this podcast is sponsor-free, so that means we don't receive anything for doing it. If you feel so inclined and this podcast is helping to support you and you want to return the favor and help to support any production costs of the podcast, feel free to give a donation to a Venmo link, Thrive Yoga Fit, or PayPal, Erin@erincoach.com. If you don't have the means, don't worry about it. We're not going anywhere. You're all good. But if you would like to give back, you can give back in those ways. Last thing, we have a coaching certification coming up, and it's 7 days of an intensive work, followed by a 3-month mentorship. You will not find another teacher that's more passionate and dedicated than I am to my students and their learning, and not just their learning, but the application and how they show up in their life. If you've been listening to this podcast and it's had a huge impact on your life, just imagine what it would be like to spend 7 intensive days with me and then a 3-month mentorship. You can check that out at thriveyogafit.com/coach-certification. Again, thriveyogafit.com/coach-certification. Thank you so much. Namaste.